can upload it later. So hello YouTube also. Today we will cover Cezz and Longdong against Galactica and Cezz. So this is a great matchup, I think. So these should be good matches. So all of these players are pretty decent in late game. So Cezz, Galactica, and Cezz are all 3D players. Longdong, I don't know. It's probably 2. So I expect some great games. But from the start we have USA. So USA is something which we do not see often. Just because it gets banned most of the time. So that's... yeah, I would like to see some USA on Cezz, how he plays it. And right from the start, yeah. So USA is very strong, mainly because you have a lot of rushing potential. And oh, this is very ambitious against Germans though. You have a lot of rushing potential with USA, with the capital and with some powerful cards. But I don't think you can run across all the map against Germans. Germans are just faster to do it. So that seems like a disaster for Cezz already. Let's introduce the other players. We have China for Longdong. He played this before on Orinoco. I think it's a decent late game civilization. I'm not so sure about China on Great Plains. Yeah, I feel like the audio, so the music is not always coming through, so I don't know why. But whatever. So he's pretty good in late game. Longdong with China. I think China is a decent pick. Yeah, just on Great Plains, maybe. I'm also not a fan of the flamethrowers. Yeah, and right from the bat, so they wanted to be aggressive, Cezz and Longdong on this side. But you cannot walk across the map against Germans usually. Germans are just faster than pretty much all civilization. So that's not good. Also, I don't think making flamethrowers with China is a game-winning move ever in any game mode, basically. So I think that's probably the worst unit in the entire game. The only reason you would sometimes make them is because you don't have any food anymore in Deathmatch. But you really don't want to have flamethrowers. That's how bad they are. Maybe we can quickly talk about the civilizations for Galactica and Cezz. What is going on? By the way, some raid is going on here. No factory snipes though. But this is actually also great because you already lost a few villagers. And just these few units in the base delaying everything. It's just very good. Delaying everything even more because he's already very delayed. Yeah, so but let's get back to the civilization. Let's finish some thoughts first. So we have French on Galactica. French is just Galactica's favorite civilization, I think. So he likes to play that. And yeah, so he's also very good with it. It's very hard to play against his French. Yeah. And on Cezz we have Germans. I think Germans is the most picked civilization in this tournament so far. I think we see it in pretty much every series. It's just a solid all-rounder civilization. Has a very good start. And just very good civilization. Always has been in Deathmatch and still is. So we still have this fight here going on. I'm still not a fan of these flamethrowers. They're just so bad. You know, you make like 15 of them and then you run out of everything basically. So it's just such a bad unit and they don't achieve anything. I feel like it's just so bad. In my opinion, yeah. Some raids going on here. Cezz on top of it though. And dealing with it even more flamethrowers. So He just likes the flamethrowers. Now he ships the card, which makes them stronger, but he doesn't have the resources to build any of them anymore. So that's a big pickle in my opinion. Let's see if he changed his deck. No, I think his deck compared to last game is still terrible. So this card is pretty bad in my opinion. So your cards arrive fast enough anyway, so you don't need Confucius Gift. This card is just worse than the card which improves the brain time and reduces the upgrade cost. Or even then 300 export in my opinion. So some more raids going on here, so that's actually also still pretty good. Also keep in mind a lot of walls going up for Galactica and Cezz. So if you have played one time against Galactica, you know that he just likes to wall everything. And he's pretty decent at it. Oh! Now we have some attempts, a sniper attempt on the factory. But with the flamethrowers, maybe I underrate them, but I just, no. I just think they're so terrible. So terrible flamethrowers. Oh, and there goes the hope of a destroyed factory. So imagine this not being flamethrower, but rams or something. I think the factory would be dead. Now the raid here is being dealt with. The fight here is still going on. So finally, Siviera got some cannons on the board, which is really good. So they are pushing back now, and I think they also sent a lot of units here to defend it. I just wonder where the holes in the walls are actually, where the flamethrowers got it. Also notice how Siviera and Longest don't have any walls up yet. So at this point you should have at least some on the board. Yeah, that really helps. It's just, I want to see Siviera's deck. I think that's a decent deck. For my taste, it's a bit too many unit cards and no endless cards, so I would usually just prefer 2 endless horse artillery, so I have something for the late game. Because USA are just great civilization late game, so you want to get there. And having an endless unit card is good. I don't know about the United States Marines, but maybe I'm also wrong about these. So I'm just not a fan of these. Other than that, pretty solid deck overall. I don't think I missed anything in particular. Yeah, usually for units, these are the core unit cards you want to have in your deck. So these are the most powerful ones. And then you can really just take anything you feel like. And yeah. So that's a decent deck. Galactica, I think he could put in, at least for Great Plains, a native card, especially if he uses the Hurons. So that's something I would put in. I'm still not a fan of the 14 skirmishers. But other than that, I think solid decks overall. Let's see, Cezz. Germans also. Yeah. Yeah, with Germans, if you want to rush, you typically want to have the 3 mortars. So I think the 3 mortars are missing. They are giving you... So you could either put out the 3 horse arty or the infantry hit points, in my opinion. And yeah, but other than that, it's fine. Now some walling starts for Siviera here. An engagement by Siviera, no, by Galactica and Cezz. I think that's a decent engagement, so I think they cleaned up the Chinese army pretty well. I think they're lacking mortars, and that's really hurting them. So in hindsight, maybe it's not the best engagement against these many tops. So yeah. Oh, some sneak going on here by Longdong. Let's see if they saw it already. So maybe he saw it, Galactica. But also Galactica just has 3 layers of walls anyway. Okay, so technically he only has one. But you usually don't expect, if you see 3 layers at one point, you usually don't expect there to be a hole. So yeah. So that could be a great flank. But then again, I don't think that China is particularly good against French. So if you want to... No, he saw it already. So if you want to, you know, side push against a French player, with China you will always have a hard time just because the anti-cap for China is just very bad. And you just have an easy time against China, I think, as French. So that's... Yeah, I think if they had mortars, now they finally get mortars. So these towers are doing a lot of work actually for Sierra and Longdong. Because they are in a pretty big pickle, if you ask me. So this has to do a lot. Oh, quick what's going up for Galactica. This is so... some flamethrower raids. I don't think I would have expected to see that. I mean, I'm glad. But I think we also see why that's not a thing usually. Because do they actually also take extra damage from... So I think if you call it militia, they also get extra damage from militia. So really I think they're just the worst units you can ever make. So another, I don't know, like 2k wood and coin down the drain and achieved nothing. Yeah. But the attempt is good, I think raiding is good. I would just rather, with China, I would just use... Oh, that was a great shot. I would just rather use the Step Riders, because the Step Riders are actually a very good raiding unit. So that's what I would do. And yeah. So sorry, I was just reading chat. Hey Frosty, hey Pasha. So yeah, I think they're just in a very good spot. I think if they had more mortars here, they would have pushed way faster. But it's something I noticed from their play, that they are just not... They just don't use that many mortars. So yeah, they could finish faster. And they're using a lot of time. What Galactica does use skirmishers for killing buildings, just not something you want to do. So, yeah, so this game looks completely over to me. So I think a big part by China... How can he still afford these shitty ass units? Like each of these units is one gendarme and he's just wasting. How does he have so many resources still? I don't know, just... Yeah. Yeah, just no, this is not happening at all. So yeah, I think if he would have made Chukunos and Step Riders like in the home base and just used the Step Riders to raid, then he would have achieved just a lot more. Or if he just... Yeah, I mean, I know I'm saying the same things, but I'm just not... I'm not convinced by the flamethrowers. I wasn't convinced from the start, and that certainly didn't help. So yeah, so I think just... The start was terrible for Siviera and Longest Longus, and I also am not a fan of the game plan of them. So the game kind of went as expected. I'm not a fan of picking China against someone who likes to pick French, and also not... Like China has a weakness against Cav, if you ask me. So picking it on a map where there will always be strong cavalry, like on Great Plains, you will always get into trouble. And I don't think making flamethrowers... I don't see it working, so I'm sorry guys. I'm not a fan. Yeah, but I'm excited for the next game. So that was also a first. So Longest picked China once, but on Orinoco it makes a lot more sense if you ask me. Because there are economy upgrades and there are also, I think, archer upgrades in the natives. And yeah, they can be pretty good there. So they make a lot more sense on Orinoco if you ask me. So I would have expected some more Japan play, because I think Longest Dongos with Japan is better than with China. So Japan is better than his China. And he played it quite a lot, and they also had success with it. So I would have imagined that he would play it again. But now into the next game, I think this is the map of Siviera and Longest Dongos. So what they probably will do again. So the last time they have Spain and Dutch. They grouped up on one side and just went for a very powerful push as a team, and focused one side down, and did it against Nahoil on Endes Upper. And I think it makes sense that they would pick this map and try it again, basically. So, but if you're going for a rush, you really, or if you're going for something aggressive like this, you really always need the militiaman. I know it looks stupid 80% of the time, but if you're going forward and the enemy has militia, then you're just getting delayed by some militiamen. And also, I think they could have, or they should have lost the villager. So they are quite lucky that they only now just losing the villager. Yeah, so, but right from the start, this is going pretty terrible for Siviera and Longest Dongos again, I think. So only getting up the barracks is pretty bad. I think he also just needed more villagers there, so usually you send 4 villagers forward and not 2. And if he had done that, his buildings would get up now. So that was a terrible start for Longest Dongos and Siviera, I think. And yeah, so now, so they spotted Galactica and Cezz. And they also just group up here, get off their cannons. So, oh, these are so good shots for them. So the start is really going good for them. So it's just a very good start. And yeah, a big issue for Longest Dongos is that he only has a Rex. And the Rex, and so he cannot build any artillery, and he only really can make crossbows and pikemen. So I think they can stop their aggression now. Also, the map is not the best Texas spawn, so this pond is really not helpful if you want to play aggressive. So yeah, so this looks very scary for Siviera and Longest Dongos. With all the momentum they have. I think again they lack mortars, so I think that really hurts them. But then again they have so many heavy cannons and normal cannons that it doesn't really matter. But really some mortars are just great, because so these will target units mainly, and if you have mortars in your army, it's not a good way to use your crossbows. So in the way mortars work, they can only attack buildings, so they will always automatically attack buildings. And this way you don't have to micro them on buildings or something. Yeah, this is also just a... I think this is a hard map to push actually. So it's just very difficult, just because of these cliffs here. It's very tight here. Yeah, so it's just a difficult map to push. So I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. So yeah, maybe Cezz what he also likes to do. He just plays with a lot of cannons and goons, and that's pretty much the only thing he uses. Is Portuguese. At least when I played against him, it feels like he doesn't even build a barracks or something. So he's very mobile, or he plays it very with high mobility. This looks just really good for them already, I think. So he wanted to attack on the other side, Longdong, but the walls already got up for Galactica. So yeah, Galactica just doing Galactica things. So that's also really good. So these early walls are just very helpful, and it really forces them to fight here in this narrow point with a lot of cannons. Now the flank comes in. The goons also come to help defend the flank. I think just that a lot of cannons went down already. So that was pretty good for Siviera and Longdong. Because it looked very scary for a moment here. I mean, it still doesn't look good, but it also looks a lot better than before. Great shots by Cezz. Maybe also something to keep in mind. Actually, I have to quickly mention that, because I wanted to mention that Portuguese has way above average cannons in Deathmatch. Just because they have a H3 card, and with the H3 card, your cannons or your cavalryns will survive 2 other cavalry hits. And that means that you should always win cavalry wars, and that's very good. But because he doesn't have that card, that's pretty bad. And yeah, maybe some raids going on here. Oh, a pikeman raid. He's going for the factory. Did he spot it? Yeah, he spotted it. I think you need the militiaman here. I think he loses one, to be honest. Pikemen do have a lot of siege attack. Yeah. Also, I see a lot of Portuguese players use both of these cards. I just think it's overkill. And also medicine. Your boom is decent enough already, so I don't think you need this many TCs. Usually, so it's just my opinion. Anyway, but in all cases, you need the artillery card. It's just key. And especially if you don't plan to make infantry, then you can just really skip this card. So that would just fit his playstyle way better. So yeah, he lost the factory, that got sniped, so Thief is happy. At the moment I completely missed the action here. I didn't see how they defended everything. Yeah, I think this is also just a hard place to push. So it's maybe easier to push here because you have a bit more space. Also maybe the flank was just really good. And it also feels like that their barracks are just too far behind. I mean, I say barracks, and Cezz doesn't have barracks, so their production really. Also some pushes starting here. Just check his deck. Yeah, so I mean, it's just that's what it feels like if you're playing against Galactica, just walls after walls and towers, and it feels like you only need howitzers and siege units. But if you do that, then you don't have anything to deal with the units. I think that's an overcommitment. Doesn't he have population? No, he doesn't have resources. Oh, Galactica. What are you doing? Galactica, oh no. It's terrible. I didn't expect that. I don't know what happened to Galactica. So his boom is terrible. So that's very unlike him. He didn't build his TC. He doesn't have another TC wagon, which you typically do with Spain, because otherwise you're just not getting anything. Spanish gold, having it in the deck and not sending it is also just not good. So you send it usually as your third card or something. This way you're getting around 3 to 5,000 more coin. Because sending it now really doesn't do him much anymore, because he sent a lot of his cards already. So yeah, Galactica, that's... I honestly expected a better boom of him. Longest boom. So to compare is just way better. So he used the covered wagon and the Spanish gold, and this way he has 67 villagers actually, compared to the 17 of Galactica. And there's no reason why the villager amount is this low. So I think that's... I don't know, it's just very unlike Galactica if you ask me, so I think his boom is usually pretty great. But not in this game. So... Did he lose the factory already? I think he lost the factory also already. So yeah, I think this game is just decided by Galactica's bad boom. Because they had a great start. I expected them at some point to just move in and clean everything up here. But it just ran out of steam. So I also really have to check after the game. So Siviera is all. So I'm always wondering how Longest can use so many units. But I think Siviera just feeds him in every game, which is a good thing in my opinion. So this is a team game, and the resources don't help you at all in your bank, but they help you a lot when your teammate can use them to make army. So even in this case, I think... Okay, maybe it's too low, so yeah, Galactica is in a pretty bad spot. So he really needs to start booming. That's funny. How did I miss that one pikeman here? So 2 factories dead for Galactica and Cezz already. I think... Yeah, I think they have a decent defensive position, but I don't think they have the economy to win this game in the long run, or at least in the... For the moment they have a bad economy, so that's bad, so they might lose the position here. So I just think that Galactica and Cezz should avoid fighting as much as they can. Until the economy of Galactica really starts to come in, and he really should get up this TC. So this is so... Galactica. I'm disappointed. Expected more. So yeah, no, what I'm just trying to say, so yeah, Galactica, so usually what you do when you're on the back foot, and if you have low economy, or if the enemy has a better economy, you want to just also get to a good economy, and then win it out in the long run by trading better and using your defensive position to stay in the game. But I don't think he can, he just doesn't have the economy to do anything really. Yeah, maybe he gets help from Cezz, and this way he can stabilize. So now the Dragoons come in, and they have a lot when dealing with these Lancers, but I think they already did their damage. And like I said, Galactica really cannot afford to lose any units. And Longdong has a great economy. So I think he can just finish it right here. Oh, those are also some great Lancers from Galactica. They do a lot of damage. Oh, now some pikemen start or come in. And oh, no, some Hybrids. I think they are a decent choice. I think you should at least use some Hybrids to fight, so the enemy gets snared and you. Yeah, now he does it. These walls. I don't think they achieved much. I think he was hoping for a lot more, and I also thought that he could get a lot more, but I think it was a pretty clumped up here. They were snared by the Lancers. And there was just some cannons here. So I think this, if this factory goes down now, this is a snipe. I don't think this is a snipe. I mean, maybe it's a snipe, but I don't know. It feels like they're losing anyway. Yeah, no, I think it's a snipe. I mean, he committed all his army to just run in. I think it's not a good. So if he wants to finish the game fast, it's not the best decision. He could just destroy everything here with the mortars and just move on. But it's a factory snipe attempt. He really should heal up this building, repair it. That'd be great. And again, it slows down. I don't know how is Galactica still in the game. Is it really only the walls? He has 13 villagers still. Now he's finally building the TC. Yeah, I think this, if he sent this card earlier, this would have been so key to him. I don't know. I just feel this game's over. I don't think there's much comeback potential. So I'm sorry that I doubt you guys. But 50 population in Galactica. I don't know why he's making so many Hybrids. I think he could just make a lot of cannons. A lot of, you know, Caverns, Reiters, and Mortars, and just push this way. I think it's usually a decent decision to mix in some Hybrids, especially if the enemy makes a lot of melee cavalry. So they are very good, actually, and they also take a lot, can tank a lot of damage. Oh, this is so terrible here. Or no, it's not terrible, but it's terrible to see these amount of walls in the Sim City. It's just Galactic in a nutshell. So now the attempt. I think he's trying to snipe the factory. That's really what he's trying to do, because he knows they know they've won the game, so he's just trying to snipe the factory. I think this really should have been repaired, but I don't think even if it was fully repaired. Oh, they caught it. I think no, only 3 factory snipes. Yeah. Okay, only 3 factory snipes. I think it was a good game, a very good start for Galactica and Cezz. They had the opportunity to just roll the enemies because of the bad start of Siviera and Longdong. But I don't know why Galactica's boom was so terrible. Like not only from the execution wise, but also from the strategy wise. So he didn't send the Spanish gold, which is a huge deal in my opinion. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed. I honestly, I just expect more from Galactica, and yeah, so that's what cost him the game basically, I think. So I'm just restarting the game, and let's get into the last game. I'm also just writing the. Yeah, so up to the next game. This is the deciding game. It's on Orinoco, so that's a map which Cezz and Galactica like. So they like their vaults, they like their tight spaces, they like the campy style and the fight in one place style. So that's a map they like to play. And this is what we're going to see. And yeah, so for this map I think I think Civiera is still a tiny bit better in late game. I wouldn't necessarily want to play on this map against him. And yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Let's just talk about the civilizations. So we have again the Hausa for Civiera, which is something he already played. The issue with Hausa in deathmatch is that his start is so terrible that you usually just die. And I also think Civiera's build order is really terrible as well. So on a normal map, he should pretty much just die if you ask me, because he's way too late with going forward. He has just this one war camp where he used all his villagers to build. So usually only want one on this thing. But other than that, I think on Orinoco you can. It's pretty forgiving. You can get away with bad build orders. I'm just going. I think I should just stop mentioning the terrible build orders of people, because I don't think there's anyone who has convinced me with good build orders so far. And there's always some. I mean, there's some decent, but nothing where I would say no, there's a perfectly executed one and a perfectly thought out one. Yeah, so let's just jump into the Germans from Longestongos. I think it's the first time I see them on Longestongos. So I just take a look at his deck. It's an economic focus deck. He's also starting economically, so no War Wagon Rush, like I would do, for example. Maybe also, I think Team 2 Mortars is probably better than 3 Mortars. Maybe I also put that into my deck. But he also just started with all his economy, so he sent the Germantown farmers, he sends the 6 settler wagons, he sends all his factories, and he just sets up his economy. And yeah, and they just want to play it out here on this river, and yeah, no one bothered to cross the river yet. So yeah, like I'm saying, so at 230, you're expected to be a 200 population pretty much with all civilizations, if you ask me. And Civiera is only at 120, so that just shows why I'm saying he doesn't have good build orders. And also, I think they can make like 6 TCs or something. I mean, that's interesting. He's using the 10 villagers to boom, to get a very fast boom out. I mean, maybe that's something good. But you're spending all your cards for economy. Yeah, because with them you can make. I mean, you can make 6 town centers, and with 6 town centers you also just boom very fast. So I understand why you would send them a few times to get out the early economy. I mean, if you get away with it, maybe it's good. Yeah. Makes sense. I think there's some logic to it. So yeah. So now the fighting starts here. I think they're just all playing pretty economic focused. They're all just setting up their economy, and I think they are pretty much finished soon. Just Germany is in a decent state. Galactica again with Ottoman. He was a bit late with his CCs, but I mean, the Ottoman should be fine anyway. So once they have their 5 TCs, the economy grows itself. So I'm not worried that he will be in trouble. Yeah, now the fighting just starts, so I'm just probably don't have to move my screen a lot and just sit here and watch them fight it out. And so far the start is going good for Tiviera and Longdong, and it feels like they are not at 200 population, Cezz and Galactica, because those armies look very small to me. Yeah, I also think that they really should have gotten up some stuff here. So usually crossing the river is very hard to do. So that's really not something that should have happened. I don't know, I'm also not a fan of making these... I know I'm questioning Civiera a lot, but I'm not a fan of making a lot of these My Guardies. So the problem if you make a lot of these units, they are good units, they are strong and stuff, but also the only way for you to get cannons is with influence. And if you use a lot of influence on infantry, then you typically don't have anything to... you don't have influence for cannons, and without cannons you're just in a very bad spot and there's no way to get influence faster, I think. Can you say something for influence? Probably, I don't know. So I don't understand this civilization too well. But I don't think you can. Usually you get influence with these cows if you have them on the market. And I think with trading posts you also get, and with the... if you build universities around town centers, then they also create influence. But really there's a real limit to getting influence with Hausa. So I think I personally prefer to use them on cannons. And yeah. Let me look at the boom. I mean his boom, maybe there's something to his 10 villagers, so maybe that's a good idea. So he's at full villager population. So, and that's pretty early. He's at the same time as British, and he used a lot of cards for it, and so that means for the... that means in the long run, he probably won't be able to send all cards, because games typically don't last that long. So he just invested quite a bit still, but his boom is out fast. So I think it's an interesting attempt. So yeah, the fight's going on here. Is there something walking in here? Is he trying to snipe on Orinoco? Is that what's happening? Oh, I hope... I'm just going to watch Gerhard Kohl and see if he can get out of TC. I think that's what he's trying to do. Oh, but he also... Oh, I think what he's doing, so with the Caribbeans, you can train units at your Explorer, and he's doing that to raid. So I think he's doing exactly what the idea behind this technology was. That's annoying. I think he really should have killed this Explorer. And I think he also really should have killed this Howitzer. I mean, the Explorer is killing it. Yeah. So... I mean, that's decent. But really, this Explorer can be a pain for a long time. I think he has the opportunity to just build a TC here. Really. And that would be a real pain for them. I think if it would have been Silviara's Explorer, he would have probably done that. But Longdong isn't too deeply into the treaty mindset. So maybe that's why he's not thinking about it. Just check. He has a lot of idols, so I think he needs to transition soon. What I also like to do with Hauser is, so they have these, I think the fields are not too expensive, but they also have the card which makes them free, and I think build faster. And you build a lot of fields with Hauser, so I like to use that. And yeah, and you also, and in the granaries, you really should build granaries around your fields. Yeah, so now some sheep's coming. Oh, that's actually also really good, really smart. So then he probably won't have much problems with influence with 30 sheeps. Not bad, well played, well played. Yeah, that's so actually I think Hauser on Orinoco is not a bad civilization. So their main issue with Hauser is that their economy, that their boom or their early game is bad. And on Orinoco that doesn't matter that much. But all their units are top tier, they have cannons. They have these insane Lifty Knights. I'm not a big fan of these Maigadis, but maybe he knows something. Maybe they're decent. I think 61 damage is a lot of damage. I mean, for one population they are pretty strong, so there's something to them. Just don't think the investment of influence is worth it. I would rather have more cannons. And I also expected that Silviara would think the same, because he just uses a lot of cannons. So I'm surprised. These raids still going on here, so they really do a lot of damage. So I missed probably quite a few of those raids. Oh yeah, so he killed half of the economy of British, so this one Explorer is actually significant. How did these units also get in? Did they just walk in? What's up with the walls of Galactica and Cezz? It usually doesn't happen that they let something sneak like that. And he really should target fire this guy now. He's causing so much pain. Honestly, I think it started really that. So usually in Orinoco you don't want to ever get your enemy get a grip on your side of the river, because you cannot build anything here, and that means that you would always have to walk past this river. And once you're here, what usually happens is that they're so far from the supply lines that the units will just get cleaned up. So even if you get a good fight, the reinforcing units of the enemy, because he can just make the counter units, will clean up the rest, and that means they will just get a good fight. I mean, you can just see what I mean if you're looking at the game of Nahoyboig and HF against Longdong and Siviera on this map. See what I mean? So to let people cross the river, it's just very sloppy in my opinion. So yeah, also the raids continue for Germany. So he really wants to get in there. I think Germany can... He really tries to get into the economy. Yeah, I think he can just push normally. I think they did enough economic damage already to just be fine. Siviera has a lot of idle villagers though. So I think that's not something which is important now, but it is 25 villagers. Every time I look, it's just a lot of villagers. Not working. So yeah, so just something to improve on, I think. But Cezz is also not rebuilding his economy. I think his economy just took a lot of damage and now he's forced to make units to defend, and so he cannot rebuild his economy. So yeah, this looks very terrible for them, for Galactica. I think it's like this raid here did so much damage. Did he lose a... No, he didn't lose a factory. It really did more damage than it should have. But Galactica is still in a good position. And Cezz is not dead. He only has half economy, he still has 4 factories. He still has a lot of walls, so it's not a position where you cannot come back from. I think Galactica just needs also to just feed his teammate. Because his teammate is at 120 pop. And he doesn't have enough resources to build stuff. And Galactica just has a lot of stuff in the bank. So if he would feed his teammate, that would help him a lot. So also, I think in team games you should always say if you need resources, even if your partner, or if you think your partner might not have resources over. Yeah, just so he can decide if he wants to send something to you. And if he doesn't know you're low on resources, like, I mean, you can assume from the points, from the way the game is going, but you never really know. So it would just be easier if he just says, okay, I need resources. Yeah. So I think he should send some food to his teammate. Can you read the chat, by the way? I'm sorry, usually I do it like this. Sorry, Story, later can play. So yeah, so push is going on. He got some bases up here. These are some very good bases. I think what's interesting is that he doesn't have much artillery, so the German. So I don't think he should be able to push against rockets. These walls going up. Just Cezz and Galactica. Oh, those two guys found each other. Look at these walls in space. Yeah, I think he needs a wall here. He really needs a wall here. And this is a... Yeah, I think he could also just use militia to clean them up. I think deathmatch players, or some deathmatch players, don't use militia too much. I mean, they're not great units, but they are units. And they are cost efficient. And you can train them fast. And they deal with stuff like this. Pretty much, so I would always use them. Yeah, Siviera continues to push. He has a lot of infantry. So I think it's also interesting. So if I play Hausa, what I would typically do is I would use mainly the Javelin Riders and the Lifty Knights. And I would and I would complement them with cannons, just because I think that I think the Javelin Riders are one of the stronger units of Hausa. I mean, the Fulani Archers are also good, but I would prefer to play more cannon heavy. And I'm surprised that Siviera doesn't think the same. He's usually also pretty cannon lover. So that's interesting. And yeah, but at the moment he's just making a lot of infantry. Oh no, finally he got some units here. Did they spot it? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, again the sneak. The German sneak. I think he's doing the right thing. Here he's getting out barracks and stuff first before he's getting spotted. I don't think this outpost is happening in any way, so I would rather build a stable first. Now the sneak is getting spotted, will be spotted by some wilds going up. So imagine building this many walls and then you check your backside of your base just to see a base in your base. Now he spots it. Let's see when he reacts. Oh! Usually also what I wouldn't do if you're doing a sneak attack, I would wait as long as possible to attack something, because that gives the notification to the enemy, and that oftentimes means he would react faster to what you're doing. So yeah, so these are definitely factory snipes, so these two are dead. Sadly, this is not Age of Empire 2, you cannot repair the factories with your villagers, even if you believe. You also only need 3 petards to kill a factory. Oh no! You do need more if he has the improved buildings, which of course he does, because he has a billion walls, so it makes sense. The Dobbs now snipe the other 2 factories, so 4 factories down. I think this is the nail in the coffin. Yeah, this just should never go up. But I mean, it just happens from time to time, so not blaming. Well played by Longdong. I think this was the game-winning move. I think they are in a pretty good spot, all things considered in any way. But this really means that the enemy should just give up soon. Also, taking natives here really would help them. Let me just see. Does he have the resources to do? Yeah, I think that Germans should always take natives, because, as I said, with Hausa you want the influence for your cannons. He's also using the influence for my Gaddies, so that means he cannot, even if he wants, he cannot spend his influence on natives. And yeah, so yeah, I think this game is over. So well played to Siviera and Longdong. And yeah, I think the second game was winnable for Galactical and Cezz. This game I don't understand why they played this passively on Orinoco, so like getting the players here, it's really not a good decision. Yeah, other than that, I think they played decently. The economy was just in a very bad spot throughout the game. So Longdong never made full population. Okay, that's actually pretty good, pretty well played. Yeah, but Galactica again, I think his boom is just a bit too slow. I don't know what he does differently. Ottomans, I think with Ottomans you can be a bit faster, but I don't know what you can do any different, to be honest. Siviera sent his card 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And that's exactly what I'm saying. So this means he has a good boom. But this also means he didn't manage to send all his cards. So usually you would send. So with the amount of my Guardies he did, you also want this card. Probably also want the range on your Fulani archers and the attack and hit points. So yeah, so it's really it is a good boom, but it's also a big investment. And yeah, so I think this is everything for today. Thanks for tuning in. Next game will maybe tomorrow, probably tomorrow. I'll stream again, and I hope I get some more games. Currently I have Alistair Peter and against Ezat and Yukiti. These should be decent games, so I'm looking forward to them. And yeah, so before I forget it, I always forget to raid. I'm just going to raid someone. I find out how it's going. Manager. How can I do that? Here. Okay. So have fun with Adesh here. I think he's also streaming Deathmatch, but I'm not 100% sure. So say hi to him. Have fun on the stream. I'm going to eat something now. And see you guys around. See you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.